So it's a good evening again today. Now, I've just watched JW Broadcasting in January 2025 and I'm really impressed. And basically what it was doing was summing up the whole of the activities of Jehovah's Witnesses in 2024. Now, it was really interesting, this video. This broadcast is nearly an hour and a half. I'm not going to cover all of it, but I'm going to cover, because there's a couple of really nice talks on there that I thought I would devote a short video to as well, because they're so well done by governing body members. And of course there's two new members of the governing body, and they're all that little bit younger, which is a benefit really, because we live in a modern world and we need, there's always a need for fresh blood, and there's a big responsibility. Those who are mainly directing the organisation of Jehovah's Witnesses around the world, they've got a lot of responsibility. They've got 9 million preachers. They're active preachers. They've got potentially 22 to 25 million who come to the meetings, who are associated with Jehovah's Witnesses. Some of them are Bible studies, others are people who've perhaps are weak spiritually and not actually preaching the good news. So when you see the figures of Jehovah's Witnesses being 9 million, you might say, oh, well, they're quite small. There's 1 billion Catholics. But each one of those 9 million is preaching the good news. When you walk past a cart of Jehovah's Witnesses, there's 9 million preachers. There is not a religious organisation in the world that has that many active preachers. In fact, the Catholic Church itself has 440,000 priests. Now they're the only main preachers within the church, other than the Pope himself. So that shows how much preaching work is being done by Jehovah's Witnesses, and that's why, yes, they're a disturbance to you sometimes, but they feel they've got a really important message. Now, this jw.org broadcast, I'm going to cover it myself because I don't want to be taking snippets out of it. It's kind of unfair, really. So there was a big update over the whole year of the removal system. For years, Jehovah's Witnesses have been using a disciplinary system that was copied from the Catholic Church back in the 1950s called disfellowshipping. Now that arrangement became rather cruel. I know, because I can speak as someone who's experienced it. Coming back into Jehovah's organisation, coming back to the congregations after you've been disciplined, and now they call it removed, it's really, really difficult, because there was not much contact between the person who's under the discipline and who's been thrown out and the person and the members of the congregation. So it was very difficult for people to get back. It's also very difficult for people to get back, because once you get put back out into the human society, this human society is so different from being a Christian in Jehovah's Witnesses organisation that it's really hard to readapt and get back. Jehovah's Witnesses will call it getting your spirituality back. So what they've done is they've brought in this removal system, which is their new name for disfellowshipping, and it's a much kinder arrangement. Now, I was sceptical, but after seeing this broadcast, I'm really pleased, because what they do now is they're hunting out the elders in each congregation. They're the ones, the leading ministers. They will hunt out those in their territories that they know of, their addresses. They will hunt them out and try and find them, and they'll be extra nice and friendly to them, which is quite surprising to the witnesses have become kind of ex-witnesses. They've been really nice to them. They've offered them, if they want a Bible study. If it's a woman, then one of our Christian ladies would come and have a study with her and perhaps cry a bit with her as well, because living in a world that's selfish isn't very nice. And if you've been in a Christian community where there's a lot of love and care for one another, it's a big thing to miss once you've lost it. So what they've done is, but what surprised me was that after they visited people and helped them come back to the meetings, they only need to write a letter saying, will you You know, I want to be reinstated. And often within a month. It always used to be 6 months to a year, and it was a struggle because no one spoke to you. Now it's often a month, and people can talk to you. They may not have a meal with you, they may not go down the pub with you, but there's communication, there's friendliness, there's smiles, there's a welcome. So if you're in that situation, that's the situation now. You're welcomed back. You can have a friendship with someone who can have a study with you, and it doesn't have to be the elders. It can be a nice brother or sister that you may have known before. So there's a lot of love. There's a feeling of coming home, some have said. And they've been seeing, this process began in March of this year. They did an announcement and they instructed the elders to go and find people and help them come back. The elders that have been doing as they're told are getting good reports. There's more than 20,000 have returned in the last year. Now that's marvellous for them, marvellous for their families. And the scripture used, of course, was 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 9, where he says, God is not slow respecting his promise, but he wants all to be repentant. He wants to save everybody, that he's a loving, merciful God. And the point was made that as followers of Jehovah and his son, we must be merciful like he is. And we weren't perhaps showing as much mercy as we should have in the past, but now we're being encouraged to show mercy. So it's a very positive thing, and people were allowed to come back and become fully fledged back in the family very quickly, so they can feel the love in the congregation again, and they can get back into the community, which is a much nicer place than out there in normal human society. You know, they referenced a few watchtowers, Watchtower 24, but one of the scriptures that they mentioned was this one in Hosea 14 verse 4. It's a lovely little verse here, and this is one of the ones that they highlighted. Jehovah says here, he's talking to the Jews, the Israelites who had fallen away. They'd done wicked things. They'd turned their backs on God. So he was talking to them, and this is what God said to them. And this was a scripture applied to us, that we need to be the same with those who've left. Whatever reason they've left, you know, they may have gone off and had an affair, or whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. He says, I will heal their unfaithfulness. Unfaithfulness is like leaving. You know, I will love them of my own free will. So that, he says, is what we need to do as well. So God himself loves them despite what they've done, and will be helped to return. And another scripture that was used, which is the last one I'm going to use here, and that's Zechariah, I hope, if I can find it. Zechariah chapter 1 verse 3. He says here, he says this, say this to them. This is again a message to the Israelites, because they'd fallen foul and they'd left God. He says, say to them, this is what Jehovah of armies has said, return to me and I will return to you. And that means that they will feel God's love for them. So that's really nice. So if you're a disfellowshipped one, the term is no longer used as disfellowshipped. If you've been removed, then you're welcome back, and you're likely to get a smiling face and some comments when you come back, and you'll be offered help, practical help. If you're one of Jehovah's a witness who hasn't been to the meetings for years, some have not been to the meetings for 20, 25, 30 years. One man was interviewed on there, and he was a boy when his dad was disfellowshipped and thrown out of the congregation. He was 8 years old. He's now obviously about 40, 45. He was in tears to know that his dad he's come back. He's come back after all those years. So it was a lovely experience. So that was really nice. That's my take. Now there's a few experiences in this broadcast that I'll have to do in another video, but that's my take to you. and it's very encouraging, really. It's really worth looking at this JW broadcasting, really, in January. It's easy to look at. No one will know you have if you want to keep it quiet. And there's a video that they released back in August, I believe, and it was called Return. Where is it? Return. Blessing of Jehovah's Mercy. Now that's on jw.org. That is all about helping you if you find yourself out of Jehovah's Witnesses for whatever reason, however long ago, it doesn't matter. That's a lovely video. Look it up. Thank you and take care. I'm rubbing my hands again. It's winter time. January 2025. Take care. And don't forget, Jehovah does love you very, 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 very much. And of course his dear son does as well.